I'm from India, right? I grew up in India. I was born in India, but that mindset is there. I did not have a choice of thinking, what if I don't get successful? This was going to work for me. That was my mindset. And with regards to the team, if somebody is having a bad day, that's okay. We all have a bad day. I'm not saying that I have the most wonderful day every day in 365 days a year. If you're having a bad day, I would say take the day off. Don't bring that energy into the team. It's the mindset again. They want to get it done. They want to have it perfect. People want to, make a lot of money, yet they're forgetting that their wealth and their health is the most important thing. Because if their health and their mental stability is not good, there's no point in having all of that. If you're having a bad day, you're having off energies, take a day off and go relax and do what you have to do and come back tomorrow fresh.
You're listening to the number one real estate podcast in the world. We talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, and stories help you win in your local market today. My name is Cody from Sheridan Street. I'm joined with Vikram Deol of the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram Deol, work hard, be kind. I like the hat.
Yeah.
It looks like you got that at a conference recently.
I did.
Yeah.
I lost my project hat somewhere in California when I was back home for Thanksgiving. And I remembered I had this cool hat. So
if you're tuning in for the first time, or if you're not tuning in for the first time, either way,
we appreciate you.
We appreciate you. And the other thing I'll say is Vikram and I are right next to each other. It's very,
that was not a very good high five, Cody.
Hey, better? Ow.
Yeah, that was better. I hit my arm.
What's up, man? You landed in Punta Cana yesterday. This is the second podcast of 3 today. We're recording today. What's good in your world?
Molly signed a listing today.
Sick. Mutual client of ours. Yeah. She's crushing it.
Edwin has a potential buyer for his listing.
Sweet.
Mario has 4 listings coming up in January.
Mario's been crushing it.
Mario's crushing it, right? Like, just clients are winning left and right.
Yep.
Because they're showing up, they're putting in the work, they're being consistent. And there's something that I believe is truly powerful, and I think this is going to relate back to our guest that we have today, which I'm really excited about because we met in person a couple weeks ago, whatever. Who knows what time zone we're in anymore. But a lot of people get stuck thinking that they have to be perfect. And I'll tell you, like, when we got into real estate, bro, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I was somehow 1% better than the other person who also didn't know what they were doing. Right? Or I just said something a little bit different than the person that was better than me, right? And one thing led to another. Like, you don't have to be perfect to be successful, but you have to start in order to get successful.
Yeah.
And like, too many people are trying to be like, this is going to be number 226 episode of our podcast in 1 year.
Yeah.
I think we launched actually
December 1st of last year.
Bro,
literally.
Do you know what day it is today?
Oh my God.
December 1st. And we're up in person again recording. Holy crap. Wow. I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Well, that's that makes this episode more special.
Yeah.
So we launched our podcast last year, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't even have our pictures and our thumbnails on YouTube.
Yeah.
We didn't even market ourselves on YouTube, right? We just went out and we just started crushing 5 episodes a day. Yeah. It's just like the agent world. You guys get out there, you try to do everything, but you're going to figure out, okay, I like doing open houses. I like doing expireds. I like doing circle prospecting. I like doing networking events. Okay, how do I create the process and system around it?
Yeah.
And you start doing that, but you got to just show up every day consistently and do what we call IPA, not drinking, right? Maybe you can drink a lot.
Maybe you get drink where you do some cold calls.
We have some wine. I got some wine at Duty Free and some Macallan, so we could drink a little bit here. But it's called IPA, income producing activities. And if you do that every day and you just try to get 1% better, okay, Nima gave me this objection. How do I not get that objection again? Okay, I'm going to say this, or I'm going to go on to the Facebook groups, or I'm going to go into my broker and I'm going to ask, hey, what do I say?
Yeah.
And if you just get a little bit better, Nima's going to give you the same objection. She talks to you next time, but you're going to feel a little bit more confident. And maybe after the 7th conversation you have, she's going to be like, you know what? Maybe we should sit down and meet. But most agents never get to that seventh try because they're trying to be perfect, so they never pick up the phone.
It's something that's you and I chat with dozens and dozens of agents on a monthly basis. It's something that even on our last podcast, we had the conversation with Dylan about, just like asking questions. The more questions you ask, the more that I think ego can sometimes get into the way of like asking questions. Like when I think back early on in my career, in my entrepreneurship career, I was afraid to ask questions.
When you were a young puppy last month?
Yeah, exactly. I was afraid to ask questions because I always thought in the back of my mind, like, I should know this.
Right.
And it was like it's the I should know this attitude that keeps us stuck.
Right.
Where it's like, and Dylan explained on the last podcast that like, it was that moment where, the person said, well, you don't know what you're talking about. So therefore we're going to go with somebody that actually knows and is confident in themselves. And today we have the pleasure of somebody who's running a successful team, somebody that has, a bunch of buyer's agent, director of operations, and ISA, which I'm really excited to chat about in-house ISA today.
Oh, you were.
Excited to chat about in-house ISA and how that's working. Nima, why don't you give us a 60-second Cliff Notes version on where you're at in the world, how long you've been in real estate, what you guys are up to, so that our audience has kind of an understanding of what you're up to, and then we can kind of dive into it from there.
So I'm in South Carolina, the Midlands. So in South Carolina, it's like the low country, the high country, and the Midlands. So we are in the middle. And I've been here for 10 years now, been licensed for 7 years now. And I would say I'm your average agent, like every other agent. There is real estate agents over there. That's me. But we are doing a little bit differently, because what we are doing over here is, a small collaborating team. So it's me, my husband is the director of operation, 2 buyer agent, ISA, and we work together on Zoom, like as if it's, an office setting together.
Got it.
But we are on Zoom every day. And we're making conversations with people, helping buyers and sellers, and just grinding. That's our everyday life.
I want to start here. I want to start because I have had a countless amount of teams that have tried, even small teams that have tried to build the in-house ISA model, and they just have never been able to really crack it.
You went right to the ISA.
I went right to the ISA model because
I wanted to. Okay, before we go into the ISA model, I think you skipped over something, because I think this plays into what you're trying to ask the question of.
Yeah,
you said you're on Zoom with your team. So are you couple fire quick round? Are you virtually running your team?
Yes and no. So what we do is we meet at 8 a.m. every day on Zoom, right?
Okay, so you just kind of do a daily huddle.
Daily huddle, and then we go into prospecting right away on Zoom. And then
guys are so when you guys are prospecting on Zoom, you guys are all muted, and then if somebody books an appointment, they come. So you guys can see each other. You guys can see the activities.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so funny. I was thinking about doing this virtual huddle role play session with people in the Real Estate Sales Academy. So I'm really just doing this selfishly. Everybody else should tune out now. So you guys get on. You have a quick huddle. What does that huddle entail?
I have my own morning routine. Everybody has their own way of doing their things in the morning. But after I read The Miracle Morning, I've been religiously following what I do in the morning. So every morning I get some nuggets from something that I'm reading or listening to. And that's what I start my morning with, hey, good morning, everyone. And this morning, I was listening to this, and let's talk about that. And I share something positive to get our day started. And after that, we talk about anything that happened the previous day with regards to showings or deals or anything that needs to be signed, any new upcoming listings that we have. Then we will talk about, the events that might be coming up. For example, next weekend we have our Santa event. So we'll talk about something like that. Max 15 to 20 minutes. And then if you don't have any question, let's start. So then we go mute our microphones and start calling.
Cool. And so why did you decide to do this, the quick huddle, and doing this virtual prospecting kind of jointly? Why not be like a lot of other teams where it's hey, go out, do whatever you want, you should be prospecting, right? Why is that an important part of your team's culture?
Well, because it's part of the part of the value add as being a team leader is accountability as well.
Right.
And, they are 1099. I cannot tell them you have to come here on Zoom, but I
Right.
tell them that you should come here because if you don't, then you're missing out on the opportunity. Somebody else is going to make the call and gonna go on a showing and convert that buyer into, a good contract. So we're always there on Zoom from morning 8 until noon. No appointments
Oh,
are
wow.
set at that time. Now,
Oh,
for
wow.
example, if there's a seller or a buyer whose time is just that they can't meet us in the afternoon, then yes, we will go, take the appointments, and then you replicate your prospecting hour to the afternoon time. But we
So
are like,
if you have to take an appointment, you don't get to not prospect, right, y'all? Yeah, I think I want you guys to write this down. If you don't get your prospecting hours in the morning, then you just take it to the afternoon, and instead of doing a 3 o'clock appointment, you do a 10 o'clock appointment, but then you prospect from 3 to 5 instead of 10 to
right.
12. So you're
Yes.
still getting your hours in.
Yes.
Is your ISA, because I know this is where Cody's going to go, is your ISA in-house, or where is is it a guy or a girl?
So she's in Philippines.
Okay, so you have a virtual ISA that you're working. Now, does she come to the huddles?
Yes, she's there with
Okay.
us.
Okay, Cody, take it away.
So
Thank you.
really, how long has she been with you?
She started March this year.
In March. So she's been with you for a
Almost
good
a
amount of time, almost a year.
Yeah.
What is that process of the training for the ISA? Because so many people have tried to hire ISAs, they've tried to hire a virtual assistant, and they just always tend to fall on their face with the in-house model. From what I've seen, I've seen lots of teams do it really well. Like Matt McKenzie, he's become a really good friend. They have all in-house ISAs. That's their model, and they make it work. Like, what does the handoff process look like from the time that the ISA gets somebody that is interested? How are they handing it off to the agent on your team to make sure that there's no drippage or leakage in the process from the ISA having the conversation to the agent taking it over? What does that look like?
So we're still in the process of figuring everything out. I'm not going to say that it's perfect, but it's working for us. So what we do is, some teams, they use Slack, and we use WhatsApp actually.
No, cool.
So what we do, I'm not sure if you're familiar with WhatsApp, but it's also
We've lived out of the country for the last 18 months. I don't even know what text messaging is anymore. It's all WhatsApp.
we use WhatsApp, and basically once she onboarded with us, we trained with her for about a week with the database and scripting. And I don't really believe in like, hey, use the script. We just let's just have conversation with the people. Most important thing is that you're setting an appointment. Ask the reason why there's a reason why somebody opted in to come to our website, and we have their information. If it's a buyer, like, hey, Mr. Buyer, you had opted in to look at some homes a couple of months ago. Are you still on the market? If they say yes, then that's perfect. Then you need to reconnect with them. And if they're ready to talk to an agent, what she does is she will put it in the WhatsApp text message saying, hey, Mr. So-and-so is ready to talk to an agent who is available. And whoever is available will claim the lead.
So you're doing more of a
that's-
text barista type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your model that you're running is they're not booking an appointment. Your ISA isn't booking the appointment. Your ISA is finding a warm lead, and then somebody claims
She's
the warm
booking
lead
too.
and reach it. She
She's
is
booking
too.
And sometimes they are ready to meet, and she will just schedule it and say,
Got it.
is tomorrow at 4 o'clock good for you? And if they say yes, then she will book it. And then she will again put it on the text message saying, hey, this Mr. and so is ready for a home evaluation.
Got it.
And the time is this, who's available.
Interesting. So she's not booking directly onto the agent. You guys claim what she books.
Yes.
Like first to claim.
You know what I like about that model, like as I think about it here, and it's the first time I've heard it, because when we had our in-house ISA team, they booked on who I told them was allowed based off of conversion, showing up. We had certain performance metrics, and if that agent met those metrics, right? Because if we're paying an ISA and we paid well, and we paid a bonus and we paid, so, my goal is to get our ISAs to make a lot of money. Because if they made a lot of money, guess who else made a lot of money? Everybody on the team.
Yeah.
But they had a metric, but what you're doing is you're forcing interaction and communication. Because it's like, because one of the big problems that teams, you deal with more teams, I deal with more of the agents on the teams. One of the big problems that teams have, right? We were talking about a team that they had a 22% pickup rate. You've had teams that have a 9% pickup rate, right?
And these are like that have 95%.
And then and there's teams with 95%. And obviously the teams that are picking up 95% of the time win more. But the big challenge is like, how do we get our agents to communicate? And what you're doing is you're forcing the interaction, saying, hey, we have a booked appointment, first come, first serve.
Yeah. And then monthly, what we do is, because the ISA will give us an appointment, and whether that lead has converted or not. So we go through those, all the appointments that she gave out. And then the agents will have to come back and say what has happened with those leads.
Got it. So there's that level of accountability of like, did you actually get an appointment? Got it. What are you guys tracking through? Like what are you guys using for tracking mechanisms? Like, just so that it's like I think one of the problems that a lot of small teams have is they don't drive that accountability in the beginning. But like, what are you guys?
You're still scared. A lot of team leads are scared to drive accountability. Yeah, because they think the agents will leave. And I'm like, if they don't want to be accountable, let them leave. But
like, what's your philosophy around tracking and your philosophy around like accountability? Like, how does that conversation work if somebody's not in KPI?
Well, we have a quarterly meeting. So in our quarterly meeting, we discuss our goals, like the 12-month calendar, right? So we do that. I've been doing that 12-month calendar for a very long time now. So when they come on board on the onboarding process, we talk to them saying, this is how our team operates. We have a 12-month calendar, 12-week calendar, sorry. So every quarter we will sit down and we'll discuss your goals. And everybody's goal is different. Maybe, for example, team member A wants to close 4 homes in first quarter. Maybe team member B wants to do 20. Who knows? So based on what their goals are, my job is to make sure that their goals are met. And then I'll ask them, how many open houses do you want to do? How many appointments are you going to go on? And then when they come and talk to me, like, how many did you go on? And if they haven't, they will come up with why they didn't. And then again, it's more of the journey versus what goals are coming up. Like, are they really enjoying the process? Are they going? Are they doing it? What kind of excuses are you coming with? So that's how we track everything. With regards to conversations, also there is chime, so we can record all the conversations. They have to use the app when they're calling the leads. So I can tweak their conversation based on what I hear when I hear the recordings.
Hey, what's up? If you're a real estate agent that is not converting at least 2 deals a month, join me inside the Real Estate Sales Academy, where I will teach you exactly what to say, how to say it, so that we prevent objections and we don't create sales resistance from our prospects. If you're not doing at least 2 deals a month, comment trial below, because I'm going to give you an opportunity to try our program before you buy it. You're going to get 3 live coaching calls with me, who sold over $250 million in real estate, millions of dollars of Cutco knives, for free, because I believe in try before you buy, proof over promise. See you inside, comment trial below.
How often are you listening to their calls? Because as a leader, right, it's not like you're sitting around. Are you in production still?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you're not just sitting at a computer all day. Like lot of, like, some team leaders are, and they still don't listen to their agent's calls. But how often are you trying to listen to something that your agent says? Is it like a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly?
No, I do it every couple of weeks. So I'm very much in production, right? So some days I'm like driving around all day. I don't have time to do this. Nothing. Right. Then some days I will have times when I'm working on my business, So the days when I'm working on my business, I'll be looking at these little things and I'll give them feedback on how their conversation is going. But I'm not going into every phone call.
Got it. Yeah, because, when getting agents to record their calls is like trying to get a kid to eat broccoli. It's
already recorded. As long as they're using
you're forcing chime. Yeah, because you're forcing you're forcing the chime. Yeah.
And they know. God, they know that it's already recorded. And that's another value add for them as a team leader. lot of agents join team because they want that value add. Otherwise,
Right.
they wouldn't have to join. I mean, I tell them, like, when you come to the team, this is what you're expecting from the team
Right.
leader, right? First of all, you will get accountability, you will get coaching. We will learn together, we will grow together. You will get that support. Plus, you will get constructive criticism. So don't take
And
it
you
negative.
are doing exactly what you say, because you're forcing the interaction, you're forcing the accountability, right? Hey, you don't have to come, right? But if you show up, you're gonna not miss something. You're gonna be a part of the culture. You're gonna be a part of the group. If you need help, I'm here live, versus waiting for 4 weeks and never getting the answer.
Correct.
Right? Because it's oftentimes hard to come back. Like, this is what a lot of agents don't realize. And our team was very similarly structured. As we started, we had we did morning role play. All right. I was always in the office before them, and I always stayed afterwards. We did morning role plays 5 days a week. We did our morning huddle. Once the whole team got in, we did a morning huddle. If it was an expired day, and we were calling brand new expireds, 7:55, they were set up, ready to go. So the minute that clock turned 8, because the dialer wouldn't let us dial outside of 8. We would sometimes manually dial, because I was like, I'm willing to take a slap on the hand. Dude, run your business your way, y'all. I was willing to take the slap on the hand for like a $500 violation. We never got any reports, but I was like, yo, call it 7:55, y'all. Like, I don't care. Call it 7:50. Don't call it 7:30. That's a jerkish move. And we'd be like, try to be the first ones in, and expired day was all hands on deck, right? Because I was like, all right, you're calling these group, I'm calling this one, you're calling that one. Because if we could try to be the first one in, we had a higher probability on brand new expireds. And then we would role play till we'd call till about 11. The ISA sat in the bullpen with my sales team. So the buyer's agent sat with, or by ISA buyer. So our trajectory was ISA, buyer's agent, full agent. That was your trajectory. So you have to learn how to set your appointments, then you have to learn how to work with the buyer. But anybody could have shot out anybody on our team, right? That was like a big thing. Like, anybody who goes on an appointment, if you wanted to work my team and get my leads and get my training, and would just even be allowed to have a key to the door, you had to be open to bringing somebody on your appointments with you. So nobody ever should be alone in our office. That was a big thing for us.
So, and that's really interesting that you say that, like, like, it's like, how do you, like, with you guys being a virtual team, how do you, like,
That's what I was gonna ask.
yeah. So, like, maybe you can ask it in a different way. How do you build the same type of camaraderie virtually that you would build in an office? Because, like, even like now, like, for example, like Vic and I generally aren't together doing these podcasts, but like today I can touch him, and there's and
I can hit him with the mic.
Yeah, exactly. And like, there's different, there is a different environment that when you're together with somebody, it's different. And like, I have a virtual team as well. Like we're completely virtual. Like, how do you, like, what are some things that you do that help bring the camaraderie together from the ISA to the buyer's agent to, and as you plan potentially to grow, like, how do you plan on driving the camaraderie with the team?
So we meet every Tuesday.
In person.
Every Tuesday in person in our office.
Yeah. Okay.
So morning time, we will do our huddle, and then we will do our prospecting. And then Tuesday is team training Tuesday. They all know that we meet there at noon, and then till 3:30, 4 o'clock, we're either doing role play or listing presentation, buyer presentation. What can we do for interest rate? What are the objections you're getting? These are the things that we do. Sometimes we'll have lenders come in, attorneys come in. Sometimes we will have, let's say, for example, we had a Thanksgiving luncheon, or like every quarter we will do something with the team, like go out for lunch. December 6th is coming up, so we have a holiday cocktail to go to, something that is going to keep them entertained. And then last quarter, we also did like, how many closings do you want? How many contracts, how many appointments? If you are able to keep this KPIs, what we talked about, what kind of reward do you want? So they came up with their own commitment, and they came up with their own reward as well. I said, as long as you do this, I don't have a problem rewarding you.
Right. Now, that's for your training, obviously you're not flying in your ISA, but is she sitting in on the training that's relevant to her on Tuesday? So she's still part of the culture, or is she just dialing for dollars?
She's just in the morning times. She's only
Okay.
dining for dollars. She's paid by the hour, so she knows exactly
Got it.
what she's to do, and that's
Got
about it. But we sometimes we will still have lunch with her, like, let's have lunch with our ISA today, and we are doing a virtual lunch. Obviously, she has her, but yes, like that.
That's great. So, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, wait. So your husband runs the operations, you run the sales. Who's training your agents? Is that a you thing, or is that a him thing, or is that mainly you, some him?
He doesn't run the training. So he's the director of operation, but he is directing our different side of the business mostly. Okay. So we do flips as well. We have rental properties, we have commercial property. He takes care of all of that side of the business. So he directs that side of the operation. And I do the training. I sometimes have, top producers from different market come to our Zoom, and they will, train us. Sometimes we are logging into some other meetings, and we will train that way. Sometimes we will have other agents from the market come, and then we will train again. Every Tuesday is different. We're actually trying to launch something different now. Jan 2024, we want to do like a lunch and learn for every month. And bring some value to everybody on the market.
What's working for you guys right now? Like, obviously you guys are doing a lot, because you're a team. So we're trying to figure out, I'll set the context for this conversation. In Toronto, we chatted about this in the last podcast. In Toronto, there's 77,000 realtors licensed, 4,200 transactions last month. The stats are 95% business is generally done by 5% of the realtors. Those are just the stats. So that pretty much sits across every market across North America. That just is the way it is. But you're training your people to performance too. They're doing a lot. So it's you're taking people that probably most likely, and I'm making assumptions here, but just
based off of stats.
You're taking people that generally probably alone. And, you and I have had this conversation where it's there's people that have, you worked with in the past that no longer do transactions because they left your team. And so it's you're training people to performance to get them a set result. So obviously we chatted about the accountability, everything, but what do you find is your biggest lead filler right now that is allowing you guys to do not just obviously I want to know your lead pillar that's driving the most conversion, but with your two other agents, how are they driving conversion for themselves?
Having conversation. I think, that's the only thing you can do right now. There is so much noise outside, right? And you have to quiet the noise. And I just tell this to my team almost every Tuesday that we talk to, that if you go and turn on social media, there is bunch of stuff that you're going to hear. But people are going to have to buy a house if they have to, and they're going to have to sell a house if they have to. It's not the interest rate that is going to drive the market. It's life happens, and then the real estate need comes up. It could be anything, right? People might have to move, people have to downsize, people have to get a bigger house. When I was buying my house, interest rate was the least thing that I was worried about because I really needed a house, right? So our job is to find that person who's going to buy a house or who's going to sell a house. And how are we going to do that is by having as many conversations as we can. So tracking our conversation and going on appointments, because if you don't go on appointments, obviously you're not going to get any leads. So tracking conversation, it can be either text messages or audio messages, or you are calling, whatever it takes, schedule an appointment, go have conversation and solve the problem. That's what's working for us.
You share the same type of ethos that I have to business. All conversion happens in conversation. But I want to get it now into the mindset of this because
I want you to tap in on something real quick.
Yeah.
You never said, hey, go make a sale so you can get a paycheck and I can get a paycheck. You said, go solve their problem that they have now. Agents, if you guys are not asking problem questions, what made you reach out? Why did you reach out? What brought you here? What is this impact? You not getting your mom closer to you. She lives 4 hours away. She fell 3 times. If you don't get mom closer to you in the next 6 to 12 months and she has another fall and breaks her hip and her arm and all this crap again happens, what's the impact of that on your life, on her life, on their life? What happens if your kids don't get into the school, right? Like, you guys, call the spade the spade. Interest rates are high. Prices are high. They might come down. They might not. Like, just let them know it might not be a good idea for you to buy. It might be a good idea for you to buy. I don't know until we actually sit down. And the framework that Cody and I use, I've been using it for a decade. It says, anybody sat down and shared with you the 3 most important things about buying a home in today's market? The prospect's going to 99% say no. And you're going to say, oh, wow, that could be really problematic. And they're going to be like, why? Because curiosity is the same thing that you have to slow down your car on the freeway to look at the accident. It's the same thing that they have to do. The curiosity, oh, that could be really problematic. And they're going to think in their mind, why? And then you go into the next frame, which is, I guess if you would find it helpful, right? So now they're asking for our help. What we could do is put some time aside on both of our calendars. And what we could do is we could go over the 3 most important things that all buyers in this market should know. Even if you guys decide that buying a home doesn't make sense, would you be opposed to that as a possible next step? And if you agents did that, even if the person's trying to get off the phone, if you could just get that out in some variation, sloppy is better than not, you're going to book an extra 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how many calls you make and how good you are. It could help you book 30 appointments. You do that in your open houses. You can do that at the coffee shop. You can do that with the seller, right? If you can learn that one framework, you're going to book appointments, because like you guys all say, we all say, if you don't have conversations, if you don't have appointments, whether it's in person, Zoom, virtually, right, you're never going to win the market. And so, like, I think going into the mindset question is important, because like, how do you
get there? Like, again, like I think one of the things that happens in the real estate market today, or just entrepreneurship, is like, oh, it's great that, like, okay, I understand the concept of wanting to have conversations, but there's like getting someone to even have the motivation to want to have the conversation can be something that is tough, because not everyone enjoys, like, I hate calling. I don't call myself, like, but I found, like, I'm a marketer, so I found different ways in order to drive.
But let me, because I've known you for 2 years and I've seen your business for 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't want an agent to hear this and be like, oh, well, Cody, he called on Zoom with his team, just like you did, Nima, because I was there in Medellin and Cartagena with you. You did that for a long time until you figured out something that worked better for you. But that wasn't the first thing you did. That was after 3 or 4 years of making 1 to 2 hours of calls a day. And then you're like, okay, I got better at storytelling. Okay, I can make less calls. So if I do an hour of calls, an hour of emails, oh, now my emails are actually performing better because it's one to many. But that was after 4.5 years and thousands of dollars of training, coaching, and probably, I don't know, 50,000 emails, something crazy like that.
And a lot of ad spend too. But like, how do we get agents in this market? Because I know you work with you have a large network. How do we get agents in this market to understand that it's going to take a lot more work? Because like, I had talked to so many team leaders, and they have the conversation with the agent that says, like, look, like at the beginning of the year, and like, I'd be curious to know kind of how this conversation is going with the team you have now. But how do we get them to understand that it's going to take 2 to 3 times more work in order to do what they did last year? Because that's a hard conversation to have, but it's the truth.
So I would say the agent would have to want it more than I do. Yeah. I cannot want the agent, like I cannot want Vikram to be successful. And if Vikram doesn't want to be successful, I can't do anything over there. So first of all, we have to find out what the agent actually wants, right? I probably want both my agent to sell 100 homes a year, but maybe they don't want to. Maybe they just want to sell 20 homes. So based on that, if they want to sell only 20 homes, and then we're going to have conversation that way. So it's the saying that you can bring the horse to the water, but can't make them drink it. Our job is to provide that environment. Our job is to make sure that they know what they're supposed to do, but they're still going to have to do it. It's like if I bring food or a plate of food to my kid, it doesn't matter if they don't want to eat it, right?
How do you manage that? Because like, say for example, you as a team lead, you set out at the beginning of the year, you're like, hey, I want to do, $2 million in GCI this year. Like, but it's like, I can only do so much volume myself. I know that I'll make up maybe $1 million in GCI, but how do you navigate your goals with their goals? Because if the one agent at the beginning of the year says, yeah, I want to do 40 transactions this year, and we're now 3/4 of the way through the year and they're at 10, how do you navigate your own business versus like actually driving them to performance?
So for me, GCI is not important. For me,
Okay.
how much profit I'm making is more important, because you could be making GCI of 1 million and having a profit of a lot lesser than that. So whenever I'm doing my goals, I'm like, this is the profit I want. And then based on that, I'll go back down the numbers and see how many houses I would have to close, what the GCI, needs to be at. That's how I do it. But then let's say, for example, if I know sometimes there is turnovers and agents leave, right? So if they leave, that's fine, because I know I'm going to cover. See, for me, we have investment side of the business as well.
Got it.
And when we do flips, there is a chunk of, revenue that comes, and that compensates this balance for us.
You got the other business over there driving income. Okay,
Yes.
got it.
How do you stay every day motivated? Not your team, but how do you stay every day motivated? Because the market's hard, right? I'm sure even your flips are taking longer. You have rental properties. You probably have renters that are behind. Maybe you don't, but a lot of people I've talked to, when I had my rentals, we had people that were behind 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. How do you get up every day motivated so that you can put on your best face for the people on your team? Because if you slack, they have no chance. Yeah, they have no chance because they're coming to you.
Yeah. So because for me, this is a long game. It's not that I'm only going to be in the business for this year or for the next year. I want to be in this business, and I've decided that I'm going to be in real estate for a very long time. And I get to choose if I want to wake up happy or not, right? If I wake up and I feel like, today I'm not feeling it, then I'm going to make sure that I'm doubling down on my calls, because that's what I've learned from all the books that I've read and from the people that I've listened to, that the days that you don't feel like doing it, that's the day you have to make your calls. The day I don't feel like working out, that's the day I have to work out. And then once you work out, you get the feeling of satisfaction. You're rewiring your brain to listen to your body in the other way. So then the next time you don't feel like doing it, you're going to automatically go and do it. And I tell this to my team as well. So I cannot, once we start doing the actions and the results come in, that's when you get more motivated. We'll flip one property, or when we have one sale, and then like, okay, this works, so maybe I need to do more open house. So they do more open houses, more people will come. And when the results come in, they will start getting the results and they will get happy and they will do it again. For me, what works for me is just doing the things that I need to do every day, regardless of whether I feel like it or not.
When you started, I love the 4:30 a.m. club. When you first started this shift, right? And maybe you never had, maybe like you were always intrinsically motivated and you didn't need the external validation. And maybe that's not you, but maybe for somebody on your team, when you first start saying, hey, the days you don't want to do it are the days when we really need to do something. Like, we have to take action on those days, because if we give in to our thoughts and our feelings and we allow the mind to control the body, right, and we don't do those things, like what was it for you? Or like maybe you're working with somebody on your team and they call, Nima, I'm not, not today, I'm blah, 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 they're PJs and it's 9:15 in the morning and they missed the huddle. Like, what's the conversation like, either intrinsically with yourself or with them, like when they're first starting out on this new habit of, I call it self-love, because the only people who love themselves take care of themselves and their business, their money, their finances, et cetera, et cetera. What does that look like?
So for me, you said for me, when did it start for me?
Yeah, like, was it always built into you?
It was because, see, I'm from India, right? I grew up in India. I was born in
Immigrant
India. I came
mindset.
here. Yeah, so that mindset is there. I did not have a choice of thinking, what if I don't get successful? This was going to work for me. That was my mindset. And for with regards to the team, if somebody is having a bad day, that's okay. We all have a bad day. I'm not saying that I have the most wonderful day every day in 365 days a year. If you're having a bad day, I would say take the day off. Don't bring that energy into the team. Sometimes it's that bad energy you come into, and sometimes it can ruin the whole team's energy.
Yeah.
If you're having a bad day, you have an off energy, say, you know what, I'm going to call it day today.
Go to the beach.
Yeah, take a day off and go relax and do what you have to do and come back tomorrow fresh.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand, because we live in this 24/7. Like Cody and I, we talk about this a lot, but we live in Latin America for the last year and a half now, and the culture is very different. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely a hustle and grind to the culture now, because everybody's catering to the Western world. But there's also, like, I came back from, you weren't with us, but I flew back from the Rise event where we met, and his girlfriend was with him in California. So she flew back with me, and she's like, oh, hey, Vikram, my mom and dad, they're divorced. My mom and dad are picking me up from the airport. They brought an extra car. You're coming with us, and we're going to drop you off. And I'm like, well, I got a car that'll pick me up. She said, no, Vikram. They see it as you were here to protect and take care of me. And if I needed anything, like, we had each other. And so now they're here to take care of us because we had a 22-hour travel day. So we're going to go get lunch. We're going to sit around. We're going to talk. We're going to hang out, catch up, and then they'll drop you off at home. And I'm like, all I want to do is go to bed. That culture of, like, hey, it's okay to just be, right? It's okay to just be is so important. And one of the things that I've worked on because I had that hustle culture until it almost killed me, was if you're not feeling it, like, now, if this is a daily thing, that's a different situation. But if it's like once a month, once in a blue moon, right? And sometimes you just need to have a person to talk to. And it's like, hey, can I get 5 minutes of your time? Cool. I'm going to go do the thing I love. For me, it'd be like, I'm going to get on a bike. I'm going to go bike for a couple hours, see how I feel when I come back. Maybe I just need a nap, bike and a nap, right? Allowing yourself, and Sharon taught me this a long time ago, allowing yourself the grace to be human and not perfect allows you to be human and not perfect. And if you're having an off day, instead of making that an off month, where you're like, and you're grinding, you're exhausting yourself on Monday, so you exhaust yourself, and then by the time Thursday comes around, you're about to shoot yourself. You take Monday off, right? If you have any activities that need to be handled, you have them handled by somebody else or yourself, and then you take the rest of the day off, and you show up Tuesday, and everybody's like, get a massage? You're like, no, I just spent time with me for me. And they're like, wow, do that more often. Like, that looks good on you.
You have to take care of yourself.
Why don't you think people do that more often?
Well, it's probably because it's the mindset again. They want to get it done. They want to have it perfect. They want to, make more money. It's like, I was listening to this podcast a couple years ago, and I'm pretty sure it was Brian Buffini's podcast I was listening to. And he said that he was in some conference. He woke up at 5 a.m. He looked outside this hotel window, and there was tons and tons of traffic, people going here and people going there, right? Everybody is traveling at 5 a.m. They're all going to work. So that means everybody is working hard, yet a lot of people don't have a lot of money. Why?
Right.
It's because they're really, really working hard, but they're not knowing what to do with their money. So the same thing, people are doing it. People want to work hard. People want to, make a lot of money, yet they're forgetting that their wealth and their health is the most important thing. Because if their health and their mental stability is not good, then there's no point in having all of that.
Yeah. Hard to make good decisions when you don't feel good.
Yep.
But we got to wrap up here. Nima, if somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe it's agent referral, maybe they want to learn a little bit more about what you're doing in your market, where's the best place we can send them for them to have a conversation with you?
Instagram is fine for me.
Awesome. Can you throw the handle? What's the handle? Cause in case somebody's listening on iTunes or Spotify.
It's Nima Sherpa Yasis. Last name is Yasis.
Nima, I want to say thank you for joining us today on the Realtor podcast. And I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode If you got any value today, all we ask is you leave us a review. Any value. Leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. It really does help us reach more real estate agents, helps us get the right information in front of agents so they can make better decisions, because we know that when agents make better decisions, they have a longer shelf life in the industry. And we're trying to help as many agents as we possibly can get the right information. So I want to say thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Art the Agent podcast. We'll see you soon.